There are people buying real estate on the island of Puerto Rico right now that are losing thousands of dollars a year in taxes because nobody told them what they actually qualify for. And guys, I'm talking for real estate investors, so what I'm not talking about is most of Act 60. And in fact, Act 60 doesn't even matter to most real estate investors, at least not in the way that you think of. So we'll get that boogeyman out of the way right at the start of this video. It'll be one of the first things we talk about, but that's not what this video is about. So guys, I'm Robbie Krager, the Flip Flop Flipper. I'm a value add real estate investor, and I've done more than 200 deals on the island of Puerto Rico. And today we're talking about the things that I missed when I first came to the island that I could have taken advantage of, but didn't know any better, so I didn't. Now, let me just give you full disclosure. I'm not a CPA, so this is absolutely not tax advice. Take everything that I say and then bring it to your accountant and let him tell you if I'm full of it or not. All right, first, let's talk about the boogeyman, Act 60. This is the one that we get the most hate on. This is the one that's the most misunderstood because we're value add real estate investors, and many of you who are watching this maybe want to be value add real estate investors as well. So I'm asking the question, does Act 60 even apply to you? Well, there's a portion of it that excludes the local population, and I believe that it's a very, very poorly written law. But that portion of Act 60 really has nothing to do with real estate investing. It's all about personal capital gains. So if you're a day trader, or if you make your money buying and selling Bitcoin, then you might want to look into this portion of Act 60. It used to be called Act 22. And what it does is it allows you to make money in those different industries and pay zero tax. So if that's you, you're going to want to take advantage of that. Just know that you have to really jump through some hoops. You need to live on the island of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico needs to be your home. You have to be most closely tied to the island of Puerto Rico. So that means you need to go to church here. The kids need to go to school here. You need to go to the gym here. You need to bank here. And you need to physically be here in order to qualify for that. And in order to qualify, there's an expense. You're going to be required to pay, I think it's $5,000 a year right now in order to be a member. Maybe it's $10,000 a year. If it sounds like it's something you want to look into, ask your tax professional. $10,000 a year that you have to pay to just be part of it. And then another $10,000 a year that you have to donate to a local charity here on the island of Puerto Rico. So that's big money that you have to spend out of your pocket if you're going to make your money as a day trader, if you're going to buy Bitcoin and sell it and do all of that stuff. And it really doesn't necessarily apply to real estate investors. So the other thing that I'll say is hopefully they will rewrite it. One more thing. If that's you and you're going to apply for that, the clock is ticking, because at the end of this year, instead of being zero capital gains tax on that income, it's going to go to 4%. So this is a real window of opportunity that you have to move to the island, to make the application, jump through the hoops and do all of the things and not pay a lot of tax. But remember, even with that, when you're paying 0% tax on that Bitcoin investment or that stock that you're buying and selling, that doesn't mean that you don't pay tax with your W-2 job. It doesn't mean that you don't pay tax on rental income back in the States or any other number of incomes that you might have that you're going to be subject to different taxes. So I'm not a professional in that portion of Act 60. I'm not a part of it, but the people that watch me often enough want to hear about it. If that's you, the clock is ticking. Get some advice and make that application before the end of the year, or it's going to cost you. So let me give you some real tax strategies that will actually save you money as a real estate investor, and most of them will work whether you're on the island or in the stateside. However, this first one is cost segregation. So what is cost segregation? That means that if you own rental properties, you guys are all familiar with depreciating your assets, and then you can offset some of your rental income. Well, with cost segregation, you can accelerate the depreciation of the asset. And in the first year or first couple of years, depending on how much income you make, you can offset a lot of income that way. So this is something that was about to expire, and it got extended by Congress, I think earlier in 2026. And so it'll be around at least until the next guy gets in office, and then they'll either extend it or get rid of it. That's just the way politics go. But while you've got it, you should use it. And real estate investors, if you have a tax problem and you want to offset some of that income, cost segregation is something that could really help you. So again, I'm not a tax professional and you need to talk to your accountant about this, but if you're making a lot of income, especially if you're making income as a real estate investor, if you can do cost segregation on some real estate that you own, you can offset a bunch of that income. The next one, though, that I want to talk to you about, and this one I really like, and I'm seeing more and more people inside of our community take advantage of this, and that is the real estate professional status. And so let me tell you the way that I understand this, and then again, you can do some of your own research. But let's say you're a doctor or a lawyer or some other high earner, somebody who makes a lot of money through W-2. And that, guys, is the worst way that you can make money when it comes to paying taxes. So if you're somebody who makes a few $100,000 a year as a W-2 employee, well, then you get taxed at the highest tax level, generally speaking, and there's not a lot of opportunity for you to have offsets. But now you can have either yourself or your spouse become a professional real estate investor. And what do you have to do? The way that I understand it, there's a few things that you have to do. It basically takes about 750 hours in a year of you thinking about and working on real estate and real estate investing business. And then if you do that, then you are classified as a real estate professional. And then you can take those depreciated assets that you're doing and you can offset that earned income. At least that's the way that I understand that. Now there's a catch to this. If you're going to do this, you need to really be doing some real estate investing. So join our community, buy some real estate, do things that would indicate to the government when they audit you. And if you're trying to offset W-2 income, which is the income that they love to tax, and you're going to take food out of their mouth, then they likely will audit you. And so you need to be making sure that you dot the I's, cross the T's, and you do the shit that you're claiming that you're doing and that you are who you say you are. All right, so this next one that I'm going to talk about is something that, man, I was doing it all wrong when I first came to the island of Puerto Rico, and it has to do with long-term rental income. There's this little, I don't know if it's a law or a statute. I think it's called Statute 132, and I believe that it's been in existence and around since 2011. And what Statute 132 does is it allows you to collect long-term rental income. So that would be income that would be rental income on housing. That's an apartment, a condo, a triplex, a duplex, a quadplex, whatever, an apartment building that you've got, a single family house. It doesn't matter as long as you're renting it to someone who's going to live in the property. And on Puerto Rico, long-term means that your lease term is 6 months and a day or longer. So if you're doing that, then through Statute 132, those rents, those long-term rents, and all of that income is non-taxable. That means you pay zero tax on that revenue. My God, guys, that is a windfall. Now, a couple of times this little statute was about to expire, and it was going to expire in 2025. And at the last minute, lo and behold, they extended Law 132 or Act 132 all the way to 2040. So that means from 2025 to 2040, that's 15 years, 15 years of not paying tax on rental income. How do I like to make my money on the island of Puerto Rico? Long-term rental income, of course, because then we're not paying tax. And guys, you don't have to qualify for this. You don't have to jump through hoops on this. All you have to do is follow the rules. Rent things to people that are going to live in it for a long period of time, 6 months in a day or longer. And that income is, by statute, exempt from paying taxes. Now, there are a bunch of small real estate investors who own a couple of duplexes on the island of Puerto Rico that are just paying full fare. They're just throwing the income in and paying their tax, and their accountant's not telling them that they don't have to do that. So you guys, you need to know the stuff that you qualify for. This is super important. I was guilty of this when I first showed up to the island. We very quickly had rental properties, and for the first couple of years, we just paid regular tax on that income. It was, I think, the third year that we were told that we didn't have to pay tax on it. And that was a beautiful day, and it's a beautiful thing. When I heard that this got extended back in 2025 until 2040, I was like, wow, that's great. That's the way that I prefer to invest. Those are the assets that I want to do. I've done my fair share of the Airbnb, which, by the way, that's excluded. You have to pay tax on that, but that's harder. It takes more effort. Yes, you can make more money, but you get taxed on it. I like to rent to the little guy. I like to rent to a place to someone that's going to call it home for a long period of time and have secure rents coming in month after month after month. And then all we have to do is the maintenance and the upkeep. And it's not a tough job compared to the nightly rental stuff, which I don't really like doing. So when I found out that Law 132 got extended to 2040, I knew I was buying more rental properties on the island of Puerto Rico. And if you're doing that, you automatically qualify for that non-taxable income as well. The next one is opportunity zones. Now, this is another one where the clock is ticking, and there are changes to the opportunity zone laws that happened in 2026. There were some things that got extended. If you're investing in opportunity zones in the mainland, there's one set of rules for that. And they are one of the biggest gifts that the world, or at least the US, has recently been given. One of the places where more wealth will be created because of investing in opportunity zones, and it started only like, I think back in 2018 or 2019 was the first time that they ever existed. And now they've extended them through like 2046 or something like that. Basically, here's the play. You invest inside of an opportunity zone, you invest capital gains money, and you defer those taxes for a small period of time on that original investment. But the big, big, beautiful play is that while that money grows, as long as you leave it invested in the opportunity zone for at least 10 years, you then get a step up in basis when you liquidate at the end of that 10 years and pay no tax on that gain. So let me give you an example, real world right now. You make $1 million in capital gains selling a building that you've owned in your family for a long time. And you don't want to pay 33% of that to the government, or 200,000 of that if it's capital gains. So you invest that $1 million without paying that $200,000 right now today. And then you let that $1 million grow over the next 10 years. And let's say it grows to $10 million. Well, in a year or two, the $200,000 is going to come due. It's going to be owed, and you'll have to pay that. But all of that growth from today for 10 years grows tax-free. And when you sell in 2036, you get a step up in basis and you pay zero tax. This is a mighty wealth builder. And it's one of the things that I think everybody should at least be looking into doing. So take advantage of opportunity zones. By the way, the island of Puerto Rico is like 98% an opportunity zone, and the opportunity zone laws mirror those of the states, but you're definitely going to need a professional to tell you what the rules are. And this is something where if you're going to invest in the opportunity zones, whether you're doing it in the States or on the island of Puerto Rico, you have hoops you have to jump through. This is not just something that you can do once and forget about it. You jump through the hoops every single year. You make the reports every single year. It's hard, but guys, completely worth it, especially if you have some success over a decade and you make piles of cash and then you don't have to pay tax on it. So check out opportunity zones. We've got a whole playlist on the opportunity zones. We got very excited about them, started a fund years ago, and I love opportunity zones. And I love that most of the island of Puerto Rico is in an opportunity zone. Now, the next one is something called a 1031 exchange. All right, so a 1031 exchange, here's how it works. You buy a piece of real estate and you own it for a while, and you've created a bunch of equity in that real estate. And if you sell that real estate, you have to then pay capital gains tax. And if you roll it into another like-kind property, you can defer that tax. And so you can kick the can down the road. And this is something that wealthy real estate investors and non-wealthy. It's one of those things where anybody can use it, and it is a beautiful, beautiful way for you to grow wealth, very much like the opportunity zone that we just talked about. So you buy something, you own it for a while, you make the revenues, now you're going to sell it, you create a capital gain, but you don't want to pay a whole bunch of money to the states, so you identify that you're going to do a 1031 like-kind exchange, and then you roll the money into the next investment. Then you let that grow, and you can do it again and again. And you could see how you start with a $100,000 duplex somewhere in Texas, and you then sell it for $300,000, and you roll that in. Now you've bought something for $300,000, and you grow that up to $600,000, and then you do another 1031 exchange, and you keep growing it and keep kicking that can down the road. Here's the difference between the 1031 exchange and the opportunity zones. The opportunity zones at the end of 10 years is complete tax avoidance. It is not kicking the can down the road. It's a lot more hoops that you have to jump through, a lot more audits that you'll go through, and it's harder, but it's a complete tax avoidance. The 1031, you're kicking the can. Now you can kick the can and kick the can and kick the can and kick the can and build a ton of wealth, but eventually the government's going to come calling and you're going to have to pay the tax. And now here is the real big caveat for those of you that are investing on the island of Puerto Rico. Unfortunately, if you sell a property in the States, you can't 1031 exchange into a property on the island of Puerto Rico. So 1031s don't work in either direction, by the way. You can't sell something in Florida, bring the money to Puerto Rico and do the exchange and not pay the tax. And you can't sell something in Puerto Rico, create the capital gain, and then buy something in Florida. So it doesn't work in either direction. Basically, 1031s, just not a thing on the island of Puerto Rico, at least not yet. Let's cross our fingers and hope and pray that this administration or the next administration will start to allow 1031s to happen on the island of Puerto Rico. If they did, there could be an incredible boon, but that's not the case right now. So this 1031 exchange program really is for stateside investors and excludes the people like myself who are investing on the island of Puerto Rico. All right, guys, so that's 5 different tax strategies that work as real estate investors. Being a real estate investor, the government rewards you. And if you know the tax laws, and if you ask your tax professional how to map things out, your money gets treated really, really well. When you're a business owner, it's far better than being a W-2 employee. It's far, far better in the fact that you can not pay so much in taxes and you get to keep more of your money, which you'll do better with, invest more, hire more, do all of the good things that you can do with your money that if you gave it to the government, they'd just squander it and waste it. However, I say all of this with a warning that I am not a tax professional. So everything that I just told you in this video, you need to verify yourself. Go talk to your attorney, go talk to your CPA, and make sure that you're using tax strategies that work in the area where you are and that you're not paying more than your fair share. Don't take what I said as the gospel truth, verify it. I believe that these things work, but I want you to make sure that you talk to a tax professional before you do something where you could accidentally get yourself in trouble. Because God forbid, I don't want you to go to court and say, well, Robbie Krager, the flip-flop flipper, said in his YouTube video, because you know what? If you messed up, the judge is going to look at you and go, who the hell is Robbie Krager, the flip-flop flipper? And he doesn't matter in this court. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Watch this next.